I'm joined now live from Washington by Amanda Carpenter, reporter and blogger for the Washington Times, and from Philadelphia, commentator Marc Lamont Hill, associate professor at Columbia University. And right here in the studio, I'm joined by Steve Adubato, MSNBC.com political analyst and author of What Were They Thinking? Crisis Communication, the Good, the Bad, and the Totally Clueless. None of these guys is clueless. Nice to see you all. Good morning.
Good morning, Alex.
So, Amanda, we'll do a ladies first here. So will this story garner sympathy, or is this going to ignite some sort of a new war with the McCain loyals?
Both. I think this is Sarah Palin's opportunity to define herself or what she sees herself as a modern woman and settle the scores from the campaign. A lot of people have been bad-mouthing her since, and I think she wants to define to the public who she thinks she is, and then maybe this is testing the waters for 2012 or something else. I think she's going to see how the people handle it and then evaluate from there.
What do you think, Steve, in terms of strategy? Is Palin smart to separate herself from Senator McCain, or is it a mistake?
Well, she's smart in the way she's selling the book. We showed the cover of her on, I guess it was Newsweek. She looks interesting, let me just say that.
Yeah, that's the Runner's World picture, where she's got a jogging suit on and shorts, and yeah.
Yes, and she'll probably blame someone for saying they set her up for it. Here's my point. The book shouldn't really be called Going Rogue. It should be called I'm a Whiner, and I'll tell you what I mean. She whines about everything. She does a bad interview where she looks ridiculous and doesn't know what she's talking about during the campaign. She blames her handlers. She blames everyone what she was wearing. She blames everyone on the legal expenses that she had at the end and says the McCain camp really gave her the shaft by sticking her with a $50,000 bill. My point is this. She talks about going rogue. She talks about being strong and independent and that whole Alaskan philosophy. And everything I've read, the AP excerpts, is that she whines and complains and blames everyone. And I say take responsibility for yourself, Sarah, particularly if you want to have a political future.
Okay, well, to that end, she does write, Mark, about her family, her personal life. She takes responsibility for that. On page 207, here's the quote from there. The month after Trig was born, Bristol came to Todd and me and told us the shocking news that she was pregnant. Truthfully, I was devastated for my daughter. It wasn't the morality of the situation. What was done was done. It was that I saw her future change in an instant.
Right.
Do you think, Mark, she gained some new fans by sharing these kinds of personal tales, or are there those who are going to think she's bearing too much?
I don't think she's bearing too much, but I also don't think that she gains any new fans. What this book does is it cozies her up more to her base. People love to hear these stories. I've read a big chunk of the book, and most of it isn't whining about John McCain. It's a heartwarming tale. It's just not a very interesting one. People already know who she is. This does nothing to enhance her political career, but what it does do is it enhances her political celebrity. She's become a full-fledged rock star among evangelicals and the extreme right. But that's not where the Republican Party is headed right now.
Well, then what is the point of that, Amanda? I mean, if this doesn't necessarily enhance her political career, does this enhance her standing as an influence over the GOP on the conservative level?
Absolutely. If she doesn't run in 2012, she will be the kingmaker of 2012. But I think what this book is about is that everyone has had their chance to take a shot at her. And they say, well, well, why would she talk about Bristol's pregnancy? Everybody's ripped it apart. I think she has the right to tell her side of the story. And people want to hear it because it sounds like hotcakes.
Hey, you know what, Steve? But I want to ask you about this because she expresses disappointment the night of the election when she says she was not allowed to speak. She went up to the stage. Well, here's the quote. This isn't the way it's supposed to end, I thought. I walked toward the stage with just Todd and some of the kids with a rolled up speech in my hand that I wasn't going to give. Is this a legitimate gripe?
Absolutely, but here's the problem. What she's not facing is that the McCain people didn't like her, and her people, and she didn't like the McCain people. My point is, in politics, these things happen. They don't like you, you don't like them. They decide on election night, you're out, they're done. They don't think that you did a good enough job. My point is, her skin doesn't seem to be thick enough to handle politics unless everyone's kissing her behind and telling her how great she is. That's not the way the game works. And by the way, Kingmaker makes me laugh. She couldn't make herself the queen or the king. Now she's going to make other people the king?
She couldn't even make a king in the New York congressional election a month ago, so that's absolutely not true.
In District 23.
Exactly.
She will have a very strong role in the 2012 elections. People follow her on Facebook. She has more influence. She's more exciting than any other Republican in the party right now.
People follow Lady Gaga on Facebook. That doesn't necessarily make you a political, titan.
Britney Spears has to be next.
I think the issue here, when Sarah Palin tells this narrative, is that she leaves out a whole lot of details. For example, it's a great story to say that she stood at the stage with a crumpled up speech, but what she leaves out is that the McCain camp repeatedly told her that she couldn't give the speech.
That's right.
And she repeatedly ignored them.
Well,
so that's one issue.
Yeah, another issue issue is that we've been discussing this morning, and no one can bring to mind a defeated vice presidential candidate taking to the stage on election night and making a speech as well. Always there with the presidential candidate, but the presidential candidate is the one who concedes.
She thinks it's about her, Alex, and the reality is it was about John McCain losing the race to Barack Obama. Yes, she was an interesting sidebar story, and I appreciate her wanting to be out there, but I say this, going rogue, finish your term. If you are so tough, do your darn job.
Well, that, Amanda, is that the biggest thing that were she to consider a presidential or major political run, is that going to be the biggest hurdle she has to face, is why she gave up the governorship of Alaska?
Yes, absolutely. And I don't think she can seriously consider a run until she answers that question. But, you know, I haven't seen any interest in running in 2012. I think maybe a U.S. Senate race after her kids get older, or maybe some influential role as a leader of a group or something like that is a lot more in the cards for her than a 2012 run.
Do you think is there a good answer as to why she gave up the post as governor of Alaska? Amanda?
No.
I wanted to make money.
Right.
Yeah. I haven't heard a good explanation. I'll tell you, her supporters will tell you that she thought she could be more effective from the outside because she was so saddled with legal bills, and I'm sympathetic to that. She had to pay $500,000 out of her own personal expenses by a lot of frivolous ethics charges that were unfairly levied against her, and that's what her supporters will tell you.
Mark?
I think it makes her look weak. When you say that I couldn't get any legislation passed in Alaska because of the balance of power with Democrats, what are you going to do with a democratically controlled Congress as president? It makes her look like when the going gets tough that she's a show horse and not a workhorse. That's not a good idea.
She whines a lot, Alex.
Yeah. Well,
apparently we're fascinated by her.
Well, apparently we are. I mean, this thing's the top seller right now, and it's not even out. It doesn't even come out till Tuesday, so lots of advanced sales there. All right, you guys, thanks all three of you for talking with us about this. Amanda Carpenter, Marc Lamont Hill, Steve Adubato. Thanks, guys.